Greetings to all the folks out there that may be watching community television. Thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to community television at its best. Yes, I'm talking about ECAT, Eastern Community Access Television. They're out of Easton, Massachusetts, and they're located at 50 Oliver Street here in the town of Easton. And we also have SCTV, Sharon Community Television, and they're located at 181 Pond Street. That happens to be a new location for them. It's the new high school with lots of up-to-date equipment. How lucky they are. Today is an opportunity for me to be the host. I'm happy to do so. I used to live in Sharon for a period of time. Now I live in Easton, so I've had the best of both worlds. And I did want to mention that the four guests that join us today have been the folks that kind of run the show with the board of directors at their community television studio, but they've been behind the scenes. You may not recognize the faces because they haven't been on camera. People like myself have had our face on camera, but these are the folks that push the buttons, that make sure things get done appropriately. And of course, today we got a lot to talk about. As a matter of fact, if you're talking about major contributions to the community and the area of communications, it's these two community television stations. So let's get to the guests. I'd like to introduce them individually and also what their titles may be. I'm going to start with Ken Pincus. Kim, of course, is the executive director of ECAT, and she's been a long-time employee working with the former Jason Daniels, who was the executive director and has moved on to another location in Framingham, Massachusetts. We also have Adam Carreiro. He is a guy who has the title of Director of Community Media. And of course, he does lots of things here and is a very busy guy. Let's jump over to Sharon Community Television. We have two people who, of course, have moved from a studio that used to be in downtown Sharon. I think it was 65 Pond Street. And now they're at a new high school with all new equipment. And I dropped in to say hello one day, and I thought I was at NBC because of all the improvements that they have made. Amy Tobey has the title of Operations Director. And of course, Issac Gerofsky is the program director, and both Amy and Issac kind of run the show, working closely with the board of directors at the Sharon Community Television Studio. So Sharon is the home of the Eagles, and of course, I should say that Easton is the home of the Tigers. And these four people know each other. They've, in some cases, worked together or have shared equipment. But my first question, I'm going to throw at Kim, and that question is, do you feel that the folks in the town of Easton are pretty strong on the need for community television? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we have a really strong presence in town. So I think there are a lot of people who are aware of our services, which is great. And we're at all the government meetings, we're at all the varsity sports games, we're at all the community events. We have a lot of residents who produce programs. So I'd say we're a really active station, and I think that's appreciated in the community.
Let's bounce over to Sharon Community Television. Amy is the operation director. How would you respond to that question?
Oh, I think we are in the town. Everyone knows us. We're really big for our government meetings, for our community events, for our varsity sports that we cover. And also, we have a lot of producers doing shows, just like Easton does. I think people relied on us so much during COVID to find out what was going on, and still doing meetings and still doing those things. And I think it gave people appreciation for community media that wasn't there before, and people started watching. I mean, I used to have like 500 people watching a school committee meeting to know what's going on. And I think the varsity sports and all those things, I think people relied on community media to find out what's going on in their town, because there really isn't newspapers there, and there's social media, but not newspapers, and to tell actual facts and what's going on.
It's interesting. I know of a senior adult in one of your two communities that has a disability, has no way that he can get to a government meeting. But because of community television, he has the opportunity to sit down and watch and be aware of what's going on, and to voice his opinion in another way. So I think that that's another good reason for community television. Isaac is the program director over at the Sharon studio. You have any comments about the importance of having community television with all the things that you've been doing in Sharon?
Well, it's keeping people informed of what's going on in town through the government meetings and through the different events, and then just being at all the events so people can see them. Like you just mentioned, that gentleman who can't get to a meeting. So if people can't get to an event or for whatever reason, so they can see it afterwards, or they just want to watch it again and watch their kid in a concert or in a game. So it's really just trying to be there and be at everything so people are informed and so they don't miss what's going on in town.
And Adam, he is a fairly new, not brand new employee, but how long have you been involved with ECAT?
So I've been started off part-time videographer 2021, right after the sports started coming out of the pandemic, and then I started full-time here this past fall.
Yeah. And I know you've made a lot of contributions, not money, but all your time and talent, and I'm sure that it's very much appreciated. What's your comment about community television in the town of Easton?
Yeah, and besides like how everybody just said about the meetings and the sports, also to get certain shows that people from the community can come on and kind of promote what's going on in the town, either certain events or certain businesses, to know, for people to understand what's going on in your town. So you kind of showcase the people of the town in it. So it gives an opportunity, because the big stations in the cities don't rarely come down to showcase some of the people in both towns.
Yeah, I think it's worth pointing out too. I mean, we have a weekly news program, so we really are one of the only ways that you can get local news anymore, because Easton's paper is now like a regional paper instead of a local paper.
Oh, that's changed.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. In taking a look at the four of you and your responsibilities, it's pretty clear that it's not a 9-to-5 job. As a matter of fact, with all the evening events, weekend events, celebrations, the list goes on, that you folks kind of like on call. I know that I've seen a lot of you because I've been going to a lot of events in both communities, and it seems like community television is so important. Although you folks are behind the scenes, you have to make sure that there's enough people to handle the cameras. You have to have the talent to go on the air to cover the events. And Isaac, you've been covering sports. You must sometimes feel like you're an athletic director because you've been to so many different athletic events. Tell us about that feeling. I know you enjoy it because you enjoy athletics.
I do. No, I enjoy seeing all the different games and the athletes and seeing them compete, and then seeing the nice feeling too after the game. Sometimes they'll come up to us right away and say, "Hey, when's this going to be on TV?" So it's a nice feeling, because you know that they're watching it and they appreciate that we're there. And it is, like you said, all the moving parts of making sure we have the crew. We have our volunteers. We survive on our volunteers to make sure they're there to operate the graphics and the camera, and then the announcers. So it's a lot going on, but it's enjoyable. It's fun to do and put it all together and then see it, see the finished product.
And how about you, Adam? Do you get similar responsibilities, or are you just working out of the studio?
No, I go in the field, and
Yeah.
a lot of times when we first started broadcasting live and going on, not only through our channels, but also on our website, we were getting people telling us, like people's grandparents down in Florida was able to watch their grandkids game. There was one year we had one senior at Oliver Ames. Their older brother was stationed in Germany, and he was able to see some of the games on our website to watch it. So with this technology and us broadcasting games, it's kind of going farther than just the town of Easton.
Now, both these community television stations basically have the same mission. I looked it up, and I'm truly amazed. Creating and providing community television with support and, of course, training for the residents of the community. And how do you get people that walk in off the street and say, I'd like to do a show? Tell us, Amy.
Oh yeah, all the time. We get people who want to do a show, and we walk them through and talk about how to do a show and how to produce a show. Constantly, you get people who are interested in many different groups. It's not just one kind of show. Sometimes it's very different shows. So we just kind of say what the commitment is and what it is to get a show off the ground. So, but we have actually, since we opened the new studio, we've had 2 new shows. So, and one was actually my dentist. So I was sitting in the chair, if that tells you. And he says, oh, you work for Sharon TV? I want to do a show. I said, oh, well, as he was trying to do my stuff, this is how you have to go about doing a show. So.
And you don't get paid, folks, for doing these shows. It's something that
It's a volunteer.
you want to be able to shout out and let people know about it. That's why you do the show. I can tell you that because I've done numerous shows over the years, and I never received a check in the mail. I just want to let you know. Only kidding. But Kim, Board of Directors, this is something that all 4 of you have to work with. A Board of Directors, I know from the very beginning, looking at the history of Sharon, they started out at the community center. A gentleman by the name of Mark Lindy was the director at the time. And Phyllis Bernstein then became involved. And then the studio moved to the center of town. And now Amy, you and Isaac have moved to the high school. So things change over the years, and of course for the better in terms of facility. And I know that you folks in Sharon are very proud. As I had said earlier, when I went into the Sharon studio for the first time, I thought that I was at NBC because of all the equipment and the fancy, new facility and so forth and so on. All 4 of these people don't have the same title. 2 work in Easton and 2 work in Sharon, but they're all directors, director of this or director of that. So they have a lot in common, and that's being able to let the people in their communities know what's going on and give them a chance. Do you have a lot of students involved at ECAT?
Yeah, we do have a lot of students involved. We have our vacation workshops on April and February break. That's for middle school students. And they work together and they create a short film. And we actually had some of the students who did that program work on an Easton's Got Talent show that we're just starting to air. The first episode airs Friday. So that was a mix of adults and kids. And we have some high school students who regularly volunteer. We have an intern from Southeastern Regional who just graduated. We have another student who's working for us, Wyatt, from Oliver Ames. So we do a lot with students, which is great. And we just had our film sprint this past weekend. And one of the students who participated in that was a middle school student.
Wonderful. We're going to take a short break before we do that. We have 2 folks that represent 2 community television stations, one in Sharon and one in Easton. 2 communities and also 2 studios, and I guess that's the magic number 2. So we'll take this short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about programs and projects and all the events that you cover in both communities. And believe me, folks, there's lots of those events. We'll be right back.
Hello, welcome to Easton News. I'm Abby Kitchenham.
And I'm Jack Ryan, and together we bring you everything you need to know about Easton, including politics.
The annual town election is scheduled for Saturday, April 22nd, 2023.
Community events.
Be Inspired, Counseling Presents a parent and child coping workshop centered around a new year and new beginnings.
And sports.
Pressure builds diamonds, so we live by that every day of practice, going into every game.
With APCSM guest segment Pet of the Week.
Hi, I'm Katie with the Animal Protection Center, and today we have a little Iris.
With help from special correspondent Wyatt Fain. Join us
For Easton News.
Playing 6 o'clock Friday, Saturday, and Sundays.
There's a storm.
Join me, Priscilla Almquist-Olsen, to explore the town of Easton and its interesting, engaging, ordinary, and extraordinary people, and meet a smorgasbord of guests, including artists, authors, musicians, business owners, community organizations, clergy, local leaders, etc., etc., etc. Community Forum at 3 p.m. on Thursdays and 1:30 p.m. on Saturdays. See you then.
Don't have time to sit down and watch ECAT programs? Don't worry, ECAT has got you covered. That's right, ECAT has
Podcast!
Yes! ECAT Podcast Channel has your favorite shows that you could listen to. Whether you want to chill and listen to the Ron Van Dam Show and hear him talk about what's bothering him that day, or the show hosted by local legends Stephanie Weinstein and Meredith Keach, where they talk about anything and everything, or take a listen to the weekly news hosted by Jack Ryan and Abby Kitchenham. Stay tuned in with Tiger Talk hosted by Oliver Ames students. Community Forum is where their host Priscilla talks about all things Easton. Easton residents can also find government meetings about various topics. You can find the podcast on Podbean and all your favorite podcast platforms. Just by searching ECAT or the ECAT podcast, you can find it all. The ECAT podcast channel is powered by Podbean, so either in the car ride or walking around town, you can always catch what's going on with ECAT. Happy listening!
Welcome back to our show entitled Community Service. We have the honor and privilege today of having 2 people from Sharon Community Television and I should say 2 leaders from ECAT, Eastern Community Access Television. These are the leaders behind the scenes that create folks and shows and bring the talent together to produce the shows. And there are a lot of major events. I can think of a number of events that have been covered by both these stations, town meetings, government meetings. They've covered celebrations. They've covered parades. I was amazed at what a super job both these communities have done covering graduations for the senior classes. If there's an event in the town of Sharon or an event on the town of Easton, these folks make sure that it gets covered because of the public image. I was going to ask you the public interest, I should say, not image, but Amy, I was going to ask you, I know you've covered a lot of events, and I was aware of the 250th anniversary that you did with a year-long celebration of events. You folks, in between the sports and the government meetings, you were running back and forth, and it was well appreciated. Folks had a chance to look at these things a second time.
Yeah, we with our 250 event, we had the ball, the parade, the bonfire. I want to think there was another music event, I think. And then
the fireworks, the sail by.
Yeah, there was quite a few events. And then we do, every year we do One Book, One Town. That's Sharon reads together. So it's a book, and then they make about 4 or 5 events related to the book. And then they have the author come. So we also cover the author night for that. We did the Taste of Sharon with the Lions Club a couple of years ago as well. And every month there's something. So like we'll have Sharon Day in October, and that'll be like 4 or 5 bands will play on the bandstands, and everyone will be out at different exhibits and stuff going on during the event. Each month there's a different event, and I think it happens the same with everyone. Like, you know what you have in September, you know what you have in October, and they just wrap around. Like graduation, you have graduation, you also have evening of recognition and class night, you know, or you have the plays. If the plays aren't copyrighted, you do all the senior plays, all the choruses, the chorus events, all the elementary concerts, all the band concerts. I mean, besides
I remember
just
the Family Week celebration. You also covered the first day celebration. You've covered fireworks. I've seen Isaac sitting in the van with winter clothes on, with a t-shirt on during the summer. He was ready to cover whatever was on the schedule. Truly amazing. And I know, Kim, you and Adam have a similar scenario here in the town of Easton, which is a community that's filled with history. It's not just celebration events, but it's all kinds of things that take place. Maybe you could share some of those.
Sure. In 2022, we had 1,246 programs total. So that's events and shows. So we cover quite a bit. We have some really great events that are kind of different and interesting. I think Easton in the Evening is kind of a cool one.
Yeah.
It's basically a bunch of businesses work together to have this like pub crawl of local businesses. So we did little promos for each business that was involved in that. We have the Celebration of Easton, which is a big Lions Club fundraiser. There's too many community events to name. And then we also have a lot of our own events that we host. And that includes, we have the Hockomock Film Festival, which is open to any students that are high school age, attending school or residing in schools in the Hockomock League. So that's 14 surrounding towns.
That leaves me out. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I was going to ask Adam, maybe you could tell our viewing audience something about the radio studio with the microphone.
Yeah, so we just redid that studio this past fall. And besides just a normal radio kind of style show that you do for WPRO, and we have another person, Ron Van Dam, that does his. We've tried different types of shows. So like this past Christmas, we had Phoning with Santa. So we had Santa inside the studio, and kids would talk to Zoom, and he'd be in there talking to the kids. Right now we have Tuesday night trivia that people watch the show and answer questions on their phones to win prizes. We have other shows that do like a podcast format, but we still videotape it. We have 2 weekly shows. We have another one that we call the Radio Cast, which is based off of us pulling public domain movies and TV shows. And we just get a bunch of guys and we just talk about the feature that we selected and go off topic about what it led into like current days.
Terrific. And I wanted to ask Isaac and Amy about being situated now in a school atmosphere. You never have to worry about you're going to find any students. You're right there in the same building with them. Tell us something about it, Isaac.
Yeah, it's been going well. We just moved in this past school year, and there's 3 or 4 TV media classes, and there's a media teacher, and so we've been working with them and building the program and getting more kids involved. They do a news program. They did a news program 3 days a week, and they use the studio throughout the year. So I see the kids who are into it and want to do more, and we're there to. The teacher runs it, but we're there to help them and assist them, and grabbing the kids who are more interested and getting them more involved. So it's worked out really well, as being in the school and being able to work with the kids.
Terrific. Anything you'd like to add to that, Amy?
No, it's really just a partnership between us and the kids. And, I'm hoping this year we get involved with the middle school a little bit more to get them involved before they come so that they can see how great our setup is that we have.
It's interesting to see all the new buildings in the town of Sharon since I retired. That's what happens when I leave. You got a new high school, you got a new public safety building, you got a new town hall, you've renovated the community center. Lots of money taking care of lots of things, and I know you folks have been covering all those events as well. And every time you look out your window, you still see construction going on with the ball fields and the tennis courts. So Sharon has really upgraded everything. And we're forever grateful to both community TV stations in Easton and in Sharon for the progress that they have made over the years since they started. The only time that I have seen you folks speaking on camera is when it was contract time with the community and negotiating the status, and you folks have in flying colors came out smelling pretty good, and it's because of all the hard work and effort. Let's talk about your board of directors. Kim, maybe you could mention, you and Adam, some of the folks that give their time and their talent serving on a board of directors for community television.
Yeah, I mean, we actually just had 2 of our founding board members come back onto the board, Howard Miller and Dino. And our other board members, Pam, Nancy, and Jonathan Cleary, who's the executive director in Quincy. They do a great job of...
Terrific. Yeah. Is there anybody, Adam, that you might think was missed, or we got them all?
Yeah.
Okay. Amy, you and Isaac, let's give some credit to the board of directors of Sharon Community Television.
Yeah, so
I
we
know
have
Paul Izzo, who is a past member,
Right.
is no longer
He's no
involved.
longer. Yeah, we have Veronica Weissman, who's our president, and we have Richie Gordon, who's our vice president, and our treasurer, Gordon Gladstone. And then we have Avi Shemtov. Who else? I just went blank all of a sudden.
We have Ira Miller, who also
Yeah.
is actually a founding director. So he just this year came back. We have Colleen Tuck and Mike Dussault and Andrea Lovett,
Yeah.
2 new members. This
I remember all those people on
Yeah.
your board over the years. They've always been active volunteers. And speaking about volunteers, I'm sure that you folks are always looking for volunteers. This would be a good opportunity to reach out, let them know what you need, and let them know how to contact you if they have some interest in either volunteering to work a camera or what have you, or maybe they'd like to produce a show. I'll start with you, Kim.
Yeah, we're always seeking out volunteers to work cameras, to produce shows. It doesn't matter how much experience you have, we'll provide any training. And if you're interested in hosting a show, we'll provide as much technical assistance as you need. And if you want to reach out to us, the best email is info@eastoncat.org.
Adam?
Yeah, some of our volunteers started off behind the camera, and I think we've had 2 of the shows now that started off volunteers, and now they're hosting shows.
Wonderful. Isaac?
Yeah, well, same information. Always looking for people, and we're really open to whatever they want to do. They come in, start usually graphics, camera operators, and then they learn audio, learn how to direct, and produce a show. Really, whatever they want to do. Open to anything. The email address would be sctv@sharontv.com.
And I know, Amy, that there's probably lots of need for volunteers. You have an easy telephone number, 781-784-8888. But you would prefer them to go to the webpage?
Either is fine. But Dave, the one thing I was going to say is basically if they can dream it, we can do it. So if they want, and that's for all 4 of us here, if somebody has an idea of a show, come and sit down and talk to us and have a conversation, because I want to make it happen. I mean, we love TV and video. That's why we got into this. So we want to show our love to other people so they understand how much fun it is and what we like to do. So
Let me ask you folks from both communities, do you share programs with each other? In other words, if they develop a program in Easton and they ship it over to Sharon, do you show it? I know the answer to that, but I'm asking this question for the benefit of viewing audience. Who would like to jump in? Go ahead,
No,
Adam.
we've shared shows back and forth, and also not just shows, like some sports games, because like Thanksgiving Day, both teams play each other, so every year it's at one location than the other, so we share that game back and forth depending on who's hosting it. But yeah, we give it out to any town that is, or city that wants either the footage or there is some connection to it. Sometimes we put shows on Teleview Connect, and if the station has that same system, they can download it. So like the show, that old time movie that we do, there's been some episodes we found out that's been downloaded in Ohio and some in the West Coast, just because the topic that they liked or the show that we showed that they were interested in.
I know that you have shared a show that I used to do, Sports Sidelines, with Ron Sanders, who worked at BZ. And someone told me that they watched the show in Sharon and they went to Foxborough. He went to visit his family, and you were on the TV station in Foxborough. They wanted to know what was going on. Fact is that sharing what you have with others, you want to make sure that the TV station gets credit for it. The show might have started in Easton and was played in Sharon. And I, as someone who's been on camera doing it, I like to be cautious about making sure that you folks got credit for it. Any reaction to that?
Well, we get credit for it because we have our watermark up. So our logo is always on the programs that we share.
Yeah. And I know we're going to take another break, and we have a lot more questions we'd like to throw at you. Again, on behalf of the community of Sharon and Easton, we thank you folks for all the good things that you have done. You know, the world's gotten a little crazy, and it's so important that we talk about good things. And folks, this is a good thing in both Sharon and Easton. It's called community television. We'll be right back with some more important stuff about community television.
Here we go. My name is Harrison Young, and after 13 years of talk show experience, I seek to bring you the best in interviews with some of the very best guests around, including, and here we are, experts.
I've seen thousands of demons actually come out of the mirror one time.
Wow. Musical guests and artists.
If I say how I feel, would you really listen?
And interesting characters of all types.
I threw that kid across the classroom. Look, he didn't try that ever again.
Wow. Join me at Topic Time on your Easton cable station anytime they want to play it. And what I understand, that's quite a few times a day. And I love it.
In 2023, Easton is a tight-knit community of 25,000 people. But with the hustle and bustle of modern life, it's easy to forget our past. A time when Easton's population was 6,000.
Everybody knew who everybody
everybody
was.
And there was respect.
There was respect for everyone.
When kids enjoyed great freedom and independence.
Everybody was poor at today's standards, but we all were in the same boat and we enjoyed life.
So join me, Priscilla Almquist Olsen, as I explore what makes Easton so very special with some of its lifetime residents.
I think Easton has so much to offer, and if you're living in a community, you have to know it.
Watch Growing Up in Easton Tuesdays at 7 p.m. and Friday at 9 p.m. See you then.
Welcome back to a final segment of a show that we call community television. We are forever grateful to the folks that run both studios, one in Sharon and one in Easton. And it's a chance for them to communicate. It's a chance for residents to get involved so that they can maybe produce a show that they think would be of some interest. And of course, there's lots of people to thank from the select board in both communities on down. And I thought maybe, Amy, you and Isaac could start with maybe some folks that you think should be thanked in terms of the history of starting a community television studio and where you are today.
We mentioned earlier Phyllis Bernstein. She started in 1985. She was the first. She was there at the beginning in starting things, and then we always, we have the select board in town, and it was really all the people in town. You mentioned the contract negotiations, and we had our hearings that we do, and asking Comcast and the cable subscribers for the way the contract negotiations go, and it's really the support of the people in town that make all that happen and possible. We really appreciate everyone's support, really all the different committees and just all the different people in town. Thank everyone for watching and being there to help us out and support us for what we do. And then we want to mention Ryan Saber. We have a small staff, just the three of us full time, myself and Amy and Ryan. He's been with us 4 years. He was part-time, just started just before COVID hit, and then just recently became full-time. So he's there with us, running all over the place, always with a camera covering everything. So thank him for everything that he does.
Amy, is there anybody else that you think?
Probably just the partnership with the school, because we wouldn't be in the building had we not have a partnership with them, and really getting to work with the kids is going to be very exciting. It has been exciting. So
Now, do you have to report to the superintendent or school committee, or just your own board?
Just our own board right now. So.
And Kim, how about you and Adam? There are some people that you have to thank since you took over from Jason Daniels.
Yeah, I mean, thank you to the board who put me in this position. I really appreciate it. I appreciate their hard work as volunteers. I am also really grateful to the town, who've been very supportive of us. Thank you to Adam and to Joe Bowerman, who's our other full-time person. Also, thank you to Priscilla Almquist Olsen. She does part-time work for us, including sponsorship, and her ability to raise money through sponsorship really helps make what we do possible. And thank you to everybody else who's working part-time and doing great work, particularly Jack Kelleher, Jack Ryan, Joe Taft, Wyatt Fain, Adam Figarski. I could go on, but I don't need to name everybody.
Yeah. And of course, forgive the panel because you can't remember every name. You're talking about hundreds and hundreds of people that are involved. Adam, anything you could add?
No, I think we kind of, this past year, got enough people really want to volunteer. So I remember first starting off, it was us, Joe, Kim, Jason, and me and one other person. And now we have all the Jacks, the Joes, our intern, Abby, that just graduated.
Do you have any Jills?
No.
I know you got Jack and Joe, okay. I know that there's a question out there that someone wanted me to ask. Could you talk a little bit about the shows that residents are producing in your community? There must be some that have been going on and on forever. Isaac, why don't you start with this one?
All right. Well, we do have a lot that have been for a while, and we have some new ones. We have Calling Tuck, there's a show called FYI, which is it's about everything going on in town. So it'll interview candidates running for the local positions and just anything, like if town meetings coming up, she'll interview the town administrator to talk about the warrant and keep everyone informed with what's happening. We have Veronica Wiseman hosts a show called Sharon Helps, which started, actually, Amy started that with Veronica before when COVID hit, to highlight also keeping people informed and talk about the local businesses and just really let everyone know who's out there to be able to help you during that COVID time. There's a show called Law, Your Money, and You. There's a new show called The Declutterista. The Dentist.
Unedited.
Unedited with Dr. Matt Finkelstein. So a good variety of shows. And like Amy said earlier, anyone who's looking to do something can give us a call and we can help them out and get their show going.
Amy, anything you could add to that?
No, I think he's listed the ones that I can think of. Also, Veronica does one called Wise Friends. So she does kind of two shows. The Sharon Helps is more related to the Sharon community, and Wise Friends are more different people who come in who might be outside the community.
Now, there is somebody that's running a Rotary show.
Oh, yes,
You know
Service
who that
Above Self with Dave Clifton, one of our most watched shows. So yes, and there's your show as well.
It's been a lot of fun talking about an organization. I know there's lots of organizations out there in the community, but Rotary was trying to find a way to promote the good things that they do. And lots of Rotarians have been involved, including the president of Rotary International, which was an honor to have him participate. But, and I know that we got an active Lions Club, and you've got other organizations in your community like Toastmasters. Everybody brings something to the plate. And this is where they get an opportunity to share what they're doing with others. And it's because of you folks coming up with your ideas. And I think that people need to not just hear about it, but to be able to see it by being on camera. Do you folks travel at all to outside of the community to cover events? I know that you have.
Yeah, we do if it's clearly relevant to the
Yeah, it has to be related to the community. Isaac, I want to come back to you again in terms of sports. I know that you have watched kids, and maybe many of them are grown up now, whether it be on the soccer field, Papuana football, high school sports. How do you cover it all? How do you get volunteers to handle the cameras?
Do it somehow.
And then you have to get people to do the play-by-play and color.
We get the announcer. Sometimes we'll operate the camera and announce at the same time, which is difficult but doable. I bet you've been there. And we try to get them all. We get as many as we can. That's Ryan and myself and Amy. We're all out there, and other volunteers, and we just make it happen. We have one thing we notice: if there's a reason we ever have to skip a game, we'll skip a game, and we just we never. People understand. We'll see them at the next game, and they're really excited that we're there at the next game. No problem if we have to miss something, but we're all get to as many as we can, and we do what we got to do. Get them done.
It's interesting. ECAT covered the Stonehill College in the Northeast 10 for about 6 years, and I had the honor of being able to do those games. Because of TV rights, we no longer do the games because they jumped to Division I. It's truly amazing to see that they actually played against UConn. They won the NCAA in Division I. So there's room out there to cover a lot of things, and it's because of our association of doing those games. Stonehill College is going to jump in and do what they can to help us with the 300th anniversary celebration for the town of Easton in 2025. I'd like to go around the panel right now and ask each of you to make some final comments. I'm going to start with Amy Tobey from Sharon Community Television. Is there anything you'd like to say to the audience? Is there anything you'd like to say to the folks out there that are interested in doing something on Sharon Community Television?
Like I said before, if you can think about it or dream it, we can do it. We're always there. We're very approachable. People know who we are in the town. It's easy to find us. And we want people to be involved. I mean, we do community cable because we don't wear the same hat every day. I can be out shooting or editing or doing budgeting or troubleshooting. So something is different all the time. So we want people to experience behind the camera, in front of the camera, editing, everything. So we're all here to teach and to learn, and hope that, especially with kids, that they enjoy doing this and they go on to do this in college and other places as well.
Well said, Isaac.
Oh, just again, thank you to everyone for their support and for watching. We really enjoy what we do, and we like getting out there and filming all these games and all these events so people can have them and see them and save them and watch them over and over again. And we're just happy to be out there doing it. And so thank you, Dave, for having us on.
And thank you, Sharon Community Television. Let's go to ECAT now, Eastern Community Access Television. You folks have been at this game for a long time. What's your feeling, Adam? Is there any final comment that you'd like to make about the studio, about the people involved here? How about folks out there you want to send a message to?
Yeah, any volunteers wanting to learn the whole TV process, like Amy says, is totally no boundaries for different shows. Like, you don't have to think that you need like an hour show, a half-hour show. We have people that just come in and do a 10-minute segment. A couple of people do crafts. We have one person who comes in weekly and do like a history moment. And it kind of fills in the gaps of shows sometimes, or events that don't fill in the whole hour, half-hour block. So you don't feel like you need to come up with a show idea that's going to be popular or take up a certain amount of time. We'll work it into the day-to-day programming. And with sports, we always find we try to get volunteers. Sometimes the athletic director helps us out getting announcers, and sometimes, like Ian says, that we do both on the camera or on the laptop announcing. But we've had good volunteers that kind of start announcing one sport and maybe help us out in another sport. For a little bit, we had Coach Holbrook of the girls basketball team come and do announcing for field hockey for one season and join us side by side for a little while. So anybody can do anything basically for us. So don't feel too scared to come out and help and learn something new.
Are there any training that goes with folks that get involved?
Yeah, we train anything in any aspect that we tell them. We don't throw them to the wolves and send them out alone with a camera. Like, we try to work them in with events that there's multiple people there that can help them if situations come up. Or even with editing, like there's someone always around the studio to help with editing. But there's always something to learn, and we can teach from the basics and start with different ideas.
It's interesting you said that someone could come in and do 10 minutes. It takes me 11 minutes to say hello. In fact, some people talk a lot more than others, I guess. But how about you? I know that you have been on the job for how long?
It'll be 10 years in August.
10 years. And you have been the executive director
For just over 1 year.
Yeah.
But I've been in Easton 10 years.
So you were a long-time resident.
Well, I'm not a resident.
Well, you're not a resident, but but you live here most of the time here at the studio by nature of the job. Any final comments that you'd like to make?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's said how much we appreciate our volunteers and how much we encourage people to volunteer. I'd also say if you're involved in any organizations in town, or you have any events you'd like to see on the channel, or anything that you'd like us to be at, please reach out. You know, we try to be at as much as we can, and we prioritize requests. So.
Terrific. I wanted to extend our appreciation to Phyllis Bernstein from Sharon Community Television and Jason Daniels from ECAT. We want to make sure they get a copy of the tape. And we want them to know that we appreciate their efforts over the years to get this, I should say, this show to where it is today, to talk about the good things that you folks have done. And I'm sure that you feel the same way about Jason Daniels, and I know Sharon feels the same way about Phyllis Bernstein, who spent lots of hours trying to do what she could to get it to where it is today. I certainly want to thank the four of you for coming on camera today. I know after this show's over, you're going to go behind the scenes again. I may have to pull you out another year from now just to chat again, but I think it's so important that the Sharon and the Eastern communities know who the people are that push the buttons behind the scenes to make all this activity happen. On weekends, on holidays, on evenings, when people aren't working and when they're not in school, they're involved in leisure time activities. And you folks seem to be able to cover it. You find a way to do it, and it takes a lot of your time and effort. So I thank you for your time, your talent, your ideas, your resources for making it possible to do this. We're just about ready to wrap up our show. We'll do another commercial if we have any time left. And even though time is running out, I did want to especially thank you, Amy, Isaac, Adam, and of course, Kim, for your hard work and effort over the years. This TV show has been a production of ECAT, Eastern Community Access Television, and SCTV, Sharon Community Television, as well. Remember, folks, you never know where you're going to be or when it's going to happen. And sometimes it happens when you least expect it. What I mean by that is make sure you smile, because you may be on community television. Thank you for joining us.